Person. A man considered according to the rank he holds in society, with all the rights to which the place he holds entitles him, and the duties which it imposes. A human being considered as capable of having rights and of being charged with duties, while a thing is the object over which rights may be exercised. Remember, this is not legal advice. This is just breaking down the words which they use in their legal books. Now, this book I'm actually taking these words from is the Black's Law Dictionary, which is the second edition. You can download it online if you choose to. Now, person. A man considered. So let's look at what a man is. Man, a human being, a person of the male sex, a male of the human species above the age of puberty. So they're saying that a man is a male of the human species. In feudal law, a vassal, a tenant, or feudatory. The Anglo-Saxon relation of lord and man was originally purely personal and founded on mutual contract. Lastly, man of straw. See men of straw. We'll come back to the human being in a moment. What I find really interesting is men of straw. Now, let's look at men of straw. Men who used in former days to ply about courts of law, so called from their manner of making known their occupation, i.e., by a straw in one of their shoes, recognized by the name of straw shoes. An advocate or lawyer who wanted a convenient witness knew by these signs where to meet with one, and the colloquy between the parties was brief. "Don't you remember?" said the advocate, to which the answer was, "To be sure I do." "Then come into court and swear it." And Straw Shoes went into court and swore. Athens abounded in straw shoes. Now, my interpretation of this would be looking at where it says an advocate or lawyer who wanted a convenient witness knew by these signs where to meet one, and the colloquy between the parties was brief. So basically, a lawyer would want a witness for something, even if it's yourself, because you can basically grasp on yourself, as they say. Again, the colloquy between the parties, so the conversation between them was quick. So basically, when the lawyer would say to this straw man, "Don't you remember?" said the advocate, to which the answer was, "To be sure I do," said the straw man. "Then come into court and swear it." Now, the reason I say straw man and where this word comes from is if we even go into the Oxford Dictionary online, for example, and we type in men of straw, man of straw will come up as well. Also, it will come up as straw man. Now, let's look at that. A person regarded as having no substance or integrity. Number two, a person undertaking a financial commitment without adequate means. We just read again in Men of Straw about this advocate lawyer, who wants a convenient witness. Now, these straw men would stand outside and say, "Yeah, I'll be your witness for money," basically, in a certain sense, a bit like prostitution. A person regarded as having no substance or integrity. So these straw men would walk around with straws in their shoes. They would stick a piece of straw in their shoe to let the lawyers know that they were available for work, and they were one of the guys who would actually be a witness and have an underhanded part in making a bit of money for themselves. And as you notice, down at the bottom, it says Athens, which is Greece, abounded in straw shoes. So this was around the Roman times, because they're mentioning Athens. So the Greeks, basically, what they're saying, so they was just doing enough hustling and dealing. Well, whether the country was poor or not, or the peasants or whatever in Greek, they had to make money somehow. So, man of straw, a person regarded as having no substance or integrity, a leader who was once derided as a man of straw, basically scoffed at, basically not respected. A person undertaking a financial commitment without adequate means. So basically, they don't even know the story. Look at a bailiff, basically, third party interloper. And this is just the word man. But it is the man who is considered according to the rank he holds in society. So let's look at rank. Rank, the order or place in which certain officers are placed in the army and navy in relation to others. So a person really is saying that a man is in one of the services, like in the army or navy, police officer. So if we look at society, an association or company of persons. So an association could be navy, army, police force, etc. Generally not incorporated, united together for any mutual or common purpose. In a wider sense, the community or public, the people in general. So basically, so far, what a person means to me, a man in the army or navy or police force, that's according to the rank he holds in society. So if you're the king, you're going to hold the rank of a king. And if you're a pawn on the chessboard, you're going to hold the rank of a pawn. And anything in between, bishop, rook, etc. With all the rights to which the place he holds entitles him, and the duties which it imposes. So that's just looking at the person as a man, yeah, or the person which they've given an interpretation. That's the first interpretation. The next interpretation is a human being. So if you see, we've done quite a little talk on just the word person, and that's only the first definition. Now it's clever how they write this next part. A human being considered as capable of having rights. A human being considered, look at how they write that. You can see it as a human being, or we can see it as a human being considered as capable of having rights and of being charged with duties. So, a human being considered. So, if we look at the word human, which is not even in the book, the closest thing I got to it though was this: monster, a prodigious birth, a human birth or offspring, not having the shape of mankind, which cannot be heir to any land, albeit brought forth in marriage. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I interpret this as the female. A human birth or offspring not having the shape of mankind. Women do not have the same shape as man. As it says, which cannot be heir to any land, albeit brought forth in marriage. So if the woman is brought forth into marriage, then she becomes secondary to the husband, the man, yeah, king, queen. If you look at the Bible, man came first, as they say, Adam, and then took a rib, was of man, W-O, man, was of man, woman, but it was not man. Human, yes. That's why, again, when we look at a human being considered as capable of having rights and of being charged with duties, while a thing is the object over which rights may be exercised. Things. Things are the subjects of dominion or property, as distinguished from persons. They are distributed into three kinds. 1. Things real or immovable, comprehending lands, tenements, and hereditaments. 2. Things personal or movable, comprehending goods and chattels. And 3, things mixed, partaking of the characteristics of the two former, as a title deed, a term for years. The civil law divided into things, into corporeal and incorporeal. Now, what stands out to me within things is a title deed. Now, just let that sink in for a second. A title deed. A title deed was a document of ownership, a slave, for example, or someone held in servitude. A copy of a certified entry, which is also known as a birth certificate, is a deed, but it's not the title deed. And the owner of the title deed have chattels, which are also known as cattle or livestock. Now, slaves are livestock. And as you see back in the word person, while a thing is the object over which rights may be exercised. So, if you're giving a person rights, it can only be a thing, it can't be an animal, because an animal wouldn't have rights exercised over it. It must be a slave. That's the only conclusion I can come to at the moment. And it's only something just to consider, as a lot of people are confused into what is going on. So as you see, we already have two definitions of a person, a man and a human. Now, before we go further, let's just look at the way it's written out. Person. Then it has a full stop. Then it has two spaces, which separates the whole thing. When you look down again, you have artificial persons with one space in between artificial and person. Then you have a full stop at the end of persons, and again you have another double space which separates that text away from the text in front. When you scroll down again, you've got natural persons, but between natural and persons you have a double space, so separates the word natural and persons. Because when you go down to private person, you have looks like a double space, and after the full stop you've got a double space again. So basically a lot of these words are actually separated, so they're not actual two words together as one, like artificial person shows. Natural person, there's a space, so we're talking about natural, that's one word. And then private, that's one word. Yeah, the double spacing always separates it. So let's look at their term or definition of artificial persons. Such as are created and devised by law for the purposes of society and government, called corporations or bodies politic. So it's basically saying that artificial persons are put together by law. Yeah, they're created by law. Now, corporations, if it's put together by law, they have to have a document of ownership, basically, a deed, title deed, to own the corporations. Brings us back to word title deed again. And why I say brings us back to the title deed again is because if we look at the word artificial, artificial states created by art or by law, existing only by force of or in contemplation of law, created by art. Art are letters, scribed as words, created within the law, which is language. So if an artificial person is created by art, it must mean that it's written down in a certain way, creating something that's artificial. And if we look down in this section where it says artificial person, within there it says distinguished from natural persons, and then corporations are examples of artificial persons. So they're actually saying that corporations are examples of artificial person. So the corporation, an artificial person or legal entity created by or under the authority of the laws of a state or nation. And if we go down a bit, it says, who subsists as a body politic under a special denomination which is regarded in law as having a personality and existence distinct from that of its several members. So we know from this a man cannot be a corporation. He can own a corporation though. And the thing about that is it doesn't matter what rank they give to you in society, you can still own the corporation. Once you own the corporation, you become king of that corporation, which raises your rank. So, natural persons, again, look at the separation between the words, such as are formed by nature, as distinguished from artificial persons or corporations. Now let's look at the word natural. The two definitions I want to look at are these. Natural born subject. Okay, so if you're a natural born subject, now again, there's a separation between the natural born and subject. In English law, one born within the dominions, or rather within the allegiance of the King of England. If you're born into the allegiance or the royal family, for example, they call themselves the Blue Bloods. If you're born into that, then you are natural born and you're a subject of that kingdom. Now, natural fall, the second definition of natural, or one of the other definitions of natural. Natural fall, a person born without understanding, a born fool or idiot. Listen to this part now. Sometimes called in the old books a natural, say it again, sometimes called in the old books a natural. So let's go back to the person, the natural persons, such as are formed by nature. You can be one of the definitions, natural persons. Natural is separated from the word persons, so we're talking about the natural word itself. There's two definitions there within natural born, subject, and then natural fall. We seem to be looked at as the natural fall. I blame that on not researching and reading your books. So far, we've got 4 definitions of the word person, and all of them, so far, has been, as I say, captured and held in servitude as slaves due to being made into a corporation from birth. Now let's look at the last one, private person, an individual who is not the incumbent of an office. Says it right there. If you are a private, then you're not held in any office. You have your own office. You do as you please. And if we look here again under the word private person, an individual who is not the incumbent of an office. But if we look at the word private itself, affecting or belonging to private individuals as distinct from the public generally, not official. So there's a big separation there between private and public. As society states, again, in a wider sense, the community or public, the people in general. So society is to deal with public and people in general. People in general could be public and private. You can be out in a public park, but still be a private individual. That's why they say, for example, if a policeman stops you, you're not to know that you're a private company yourself because you're in the private, but you don't know that you're not in the private. You believe you're in the public. Where a policeman is in the private, he knows that you are the private as well. That's why they can do contracts with you as corporations, because you're seen as the public, basically. We can get into that a bit deeper. But the point I'm getting to is that how if the police officer is in a private capacity and you are in a private capacity, unaware that you're in a private capacity, this means 2 private companies cannot do business on public roads, and it's illegal for them to give you a ticket. So to really conclude this off in a certain sense for this first part of person, there's a big distinction. There's a lot of interpretation and definitions under the legal person, whether it's natural, whether it's artificial, whether it's the human, and whether it's the man. There's 4 definitions there. The one you take yourself out with is the private. You need to be in the private. We'll get more into that in the next video. Remember to subscribe, like, share this especially. Thank you.
You're listening down with the truth. Now that's something to me. Know thyself, seek and ye shall find. I tell you this now, it's in no African mind. Searching diamonds, gold, silver, platinum, them the kind of things, illusions you fathom. Yeah, they call it magic. Right, you're right, it's tragic. I know. clever what they done, fantastic. Come against me now, you end up in a straight jacket. I'll prove you illiterate, one question, the language. Now who's the pickle in the sandwich? This kind of knowledge that you're hearing will damage you, destroy you. Don't worry, I'll employ you, get you back on track, so you can defend your own attack.
Gold chain round your neck,